Description. Discover the subtle yet powerful emotional and psychological traits that women often respond to. In this insightful story, learn what truly captivates the female heart and how mature men can unlock deeper connection and attraction by understanding these key dynamics. All names are American, and the content follows YouTube monetization policies. Hashtags. Hashtag dating advice, hashtag female psychology, hashtag attraction secrets, hashtag mature men dating, hashtag relationship tips, hashtag top 10 traits, hashtag emotional connection. Long tail hashtag. Hashtag top 10 female weaknesses, every man must know story. There was a time when Jordan Matthews thought he had women all figured out. At 35, successful in his career as a software consultant in Austin, Texas, he drove a nice car, wore custom-fitted suits, and hit the gym 4 days a week. Still, something always felt missing when it came to relationships. Women would smile at him, go out with him, laugh at his jokes, but those connections often fizzled before anything real could take root. That changed one spring evening when he met an older gentleman named Richard Collins at a local leadership retreat. Richard was in his early 60s, sharp as a tack, twice married and divorced, and radiated something intangible, what some might call wisdom. Jordan wasn't expecting to meet a mentor that weekend, but Richard ended up being exactly that. Their conversation began casually over coffee but soon spiraled into something much deeper. Richard had a gift for observing people, especially women. "You want to connect with women beyond the surface," he said. "You've got to stop chasing them and start understanding them." Jordan, intrigued, leaned in. Over the following months, Jordan and Richard met weekly. These weren't lectures or manipulative strategy sessions. Richard wasn't teaching him how to hack attraction. He was guiding him to see what most men overlook: the subtle, often hidden aspects of emotional connection that women naturally respond to. Jordan soon began to understand that while every woman is different, there are universal emotional touchpoints that resonate deeply with the feminine psyche. It wasn't about trickery. It was about emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and genuine presence. For example, one of the first things Richard pointed out was how women are drawn to emotional availability. That doesn't mean being soft or overly sensitive, but being able to talk about how you feel, even if it's just in small, honest ways. Jordan had always assumed strength meant silence. But as he started expressing himself with more clarity and authenticity, the women he met began opening up in return. One woman, Emily, a marketing executive he met at a networking event, later told him, "You're one of the only guys I've met who makes me feel safe just by listening." That safety wasn't physical, it was emotional. Then there was confidence. Not arrogance or loud bravado, but quiet, grounded assurance. When Jordan began practicing presence, meaning really focusing on the moment rather than his phone or his thoughts, he noticed women responded to his calm demeanor. It made them feel seen, valued, noticed. That simple shift from talking to impress to talking to connect made all the difference. Richard also taught Jordan about playfulness, the power of humor, light teasing, and wit. "Don't be afraid to joke around," he said. "Women love to laugh, especially when it's not forced." It wasn't about being a clown, but about showing comfort in his own skin. When Jordan relaxed, so did the women around him. As Jordan applied these lessons, he began seeing tangible changes. Conversations deepened. Dates felt more natural. Women started texting first. His presence lingered in their minds. One evening over dinner with Rachel, a nurse he'd met through mutual friends, she confessed, "I don't know what it is about you, Jordan. It's like you get me without me having to explain everything." That moment was a revelation. The weaknesses Richard had pointed out weren't flaws in women. They were simply emotional entry points, deeply wired through biology, culture, and personal experience. Another one Richard emphasized was admiration for ambition, not necessarily wealth, but purpose. When a man has direction, when he's chasing something meaningful, it draws women in. They want to feel they're walking beside someone going somewhere, Richard explained. Jordan, who'd been coasting for years professionally, decided to launch his own startup. Not to impress anyone but to challenge himself. That energy translated into everything, from his conversations to his body language. Respect for independence was another trait Jordan hadn't fully appreciated. He had dated women in the past who pulled away when he got too clingy. Richard explained why. The modern woman values freedom. When you give her space to be herself, she'll often come closer to you than if you try to hold her tight. Jordan changed his approach, learning to let the relationship breathe. It wasn't about games. It was about trust. Sensitivity to detail became another powerful skill. He began noticing little things. How someone stirred their drink when nervous, the way their eyes shifted during conversation, their favorite scent or book genre. Mentioning these small things later showed attentiveness, and women noticed. One date told him, "You remembered I said I love jazz piano? That's rare." Richard also reminded Jordan that vulnerability, when used wisely, is magnetic. Not whining, not oversharing, but opening up just enough to invite intimacy. Jordan once told a woman he was dating about his father's passing and how it shaped him. She didn't run away. She leaned in, her eyes softened, and from that point forward, their relationship shifted from casual to meaningful. Another moment of clarity came when Richard explained the difference between being a provider and being protective. "You don't need to buy her the world," he said. "But you do need to be her safe place in a storm." That meant emotional resilience. Being the one who remained steady when life threw curveballs. Jordan practiced staying calm under pressure, and when Rachel went through a tough time at work, she said, "Just talking to you makes it feel manageable." All of this culminated one evening when Jordan, now more grounded, more in tune, took a walk with Rachel along Lady Bird Lake. They talked about everything: dreams, fears, music, childhood. She turned to him and said, "You know, you're not like most guys. You don't try to impress me. You just show up. And that's what makes you unforgettable." That was it. That was the real secret. What Richard had taught him wasn't a list of manipulative tricks. It was a way of being. A way of understanding that women, like men, have hopes, doubts, needs, and moments of weakness. But when a man meets those with presence, depth, and strength, it forms the kind of bond that doesn't fade after the first date. Deepens. As Jordan looked back on those months of growth, he realized that the phrase "female weaknesses" didn't mean flaws. It meant opportunities for connection. Emotional availability, humor, ambition, attentiveness, vulnerability, respect for independence, protection, and deep listening. These weren't just traits women loved. They were traits that made him a better human being. He saw the transformation not just in his relationships, but in how he carried himself. Friends noticed. Colleagues commented on his charisma. And most importantly, he felt more at peace, more connected to himself. Richard's parting advice was simple. If you want to touch a woman's heart, don't